Good afternoon. I'm Carlos Phillips, President and CEO of the Greenville Chamber, and I want to thank you for joining us for this installment of the Community Matters series. If you missed the first two sessions, you can find the links on the Greenville Chamber's website. Over the coming weeks, we'll continue to connect you with local leaders and experts to discuss issues that are top of mind right now. You can tune in on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. and learn more and register at greenvillechamber.org. A couple of housekeeping tips before we get started. All attendees should be on mute. Please submit questions through the chat feature, which you can find on your screen. Today, we're excited to hear from both city and county leadership. With us today is John McDonough, the Greenville City Manager, as well as Butch Kirven, Greenville County Council Chairman. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Carlos. Good to be with you. Likewise.
Now, there's so much going on these days. We could actually, this webcast could last for hours. We also want to save time at the end for questions from our attendees. So if it's okay with you gentlemen, we'll just jump right in.
Sounds good.
All right. John, the first question is for you. Can you give us a high-level overview of what's going on at the city? What's top of mind for you, and especially as it relates to the business community? And John, after you answer, we'll turn it over to Butch.
Great. Well, good morning, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Carlos, and I appreciate the opportunity to join Chairman Kirven this morning. I can tell you that we've worked very closely with the chairman, county manager, and their team, as well as many others in the upstate over the course of the last month, particularly related to the COVID emergency. We could go to the next slide, please. I'll talk specifically about some high-level things the city's doing, talk about some of our business support, community outreach, and some of our communication efforts. I'm not going to go through all of this. This information will be available, Carlos, after the webcast is over for people to go back and take a look at it. We started in earnest many weeks ago in preparation for this event. We've done what many others have done. We were early adopters of closing our facilities and have taken increasingly responsible actions over the last several weeks based on the guidance that we have received from our health experts, particularly those from Prisma and Bon Secours, as well as DHEC. I think one thing of note here at the bottom of the slide is the H-tax and accommodations tax late payment relief that City Council implemented several weeks ago. And I got some numbers this morning to share. That equates to a little over $250,000 just in the past month alone on deferred payments. Next slide, please. So our big focus, as has been the focus across the country, is on social distancing. To protect the health of customers and our employees. We implemented special shopping hours for vulnerable populations. This was done through an emergency ordinance that our mayor and city council passed last week. It's not intended to incur any undue hardship. We believe the rules were very fair, and many of the businesses across the city and in Greenville County were already adopting these measures. I did want to thank our fire department. They actually distributed 214 flyers to those most frequented businesses in the city of Greenville yesterday to share with them specifically what those rules are and what we're expecting of them. And they've been very appreciative of that. So I want to thank our fire department for doing that outreach on our behalf to over 200 businesses. Next slide, please. So some of the things we're doing to support local businesses in partnership with the Chamber. You can see on the right-hand side of the slide here, we can look at all the state and federal programs that are available. I think everybody has spent the last week or two trying to understand specifically what this means to you, your business, what it means to the healthcare industry, what it means to small business, particularly in our hospitality and tourism area that has been particularly hard hit by this COVID pandemic. So from the city's perspective, we're trying to determine what those barriers are to accessing those programs. Our Community and Economic Development Department is in close contact with the Chamber and GADC. And I want to thank Carlos for his help and leadership in putting out the business survey. I saw that Carlos went out about 8:30 this morning. That's going to be a great tool for all of us to gauge the needs of the business community And we're looking forward and encourage everybody to fill that out because we really will be guided by the information that we receive back from that business survey. Next slide, please. So some of our longer term goals are going to be to establish a kind of a committee, Carlos, in cooperation with you and others in leadership positions in the business community. We want to continue to share those best practices in cooperation with the chamber. And our focus is going to be over the course of the next couple of months as we prepare our budget. And it's going to be a difficult budget year for the city of Greenville as well as others across our country with a huge hit to revenues, particularly in the area of hospitality and tourism. We're cognizant of that, and we recognize the importance, and I'll be recommending specific investments, and I've talked with Carlos about this several weeks ago before this really even got started, about the importance of investing in a marketing campaign around our businesses and our business community in Greenville and the greater Greenville area. So that's going to be very important to us, as well as continue to provide support for our entrepreneurial ecosystem. And that's another matter Carlos and I are discussing about what's next for next. And those of you that are on the chamber board know that's going to be an important initiative for us in the years to come to really grow those businesses here organically in the city, in the upstate, and in Greenville County. Next slide, please. So we've talked a little bit about the accommodations and hospitality tax late payment relief. The city continues with continuity of operations with a focus on our first responders, keeping them healthy, making sure they have the supplies that they need, and we continue to pay our vendors. So this has been a big paradigm shift for us, like it has been many people. We're learning how to telecommute. We're keeping our doors, so to speak, virtually open to continue to do business. You can see under the next bullet point here, we had 72 applications a little over a week ago, and we issued 92 permits. So our planning and development services division is working hard. Last week we had 82 applications submitted, and we put out almost 140 permits. So business continues in the city of Greenville, particularly in the construction industry. And another thing that we have done, since we're not able, our market was supposed to have started a couple weeks ago. We were not able to do that. So we're trying to connect those farmers with customers here in Greenville. And you can see on the right-hand side of the slide here, which is available. If you want to partake in that and support those small businesses and those farmers, please go to the link and go to the Market Connect and support those small businesses. That would be a great thing to do at this time. That's something that you all can do, and please put the word out on that. Next slide, please. So some of the things we're doing from a community standpoint, working very, very closely with our medical facilities in the local community. We talked about Prisma, Bon Secours, to identify surge facilities. We've been doing that now for several weeks. I think we're about to settle and make some announcements on that probably later this week. Our public transit continues to operate. We have gone to a fare-free model there so that the drivers don't have to interact with the customers. And we've limited ridership to 10 people per bus to ensure social distancing. Those buses are heavily cleaned each and every day after each shift and sanitized to protect the riders and the health of our drivers. And then as far as housing assistance goes, we're working closely with the Greenville County Redevelopment Authority and the United Way to establish a housing assistance fund to help people that are in the greatest need right now, as well as putting up local dollars towards that initiative. I was informed a couple days ago from our community development director that with this most recent stimulus passed down from the federal government, the city of Greenville is going to receive approximately $500,000 towards these efforts. And Mr. Chairman, I understand that Greenville County is somewhere well over $1 million. I think it's about $1.2 million or $1.3 million towards these purposes. So between the city and the county, we have about $2 million to deploy working with our partners in the social services space. Next slide, please. So we recognize the vulnerability of many, particularly those in our homeless community. Some of the things that we've done to support that is we've kept our public restrooms open and sanitized. Authorized several weeks ago additional services, so we are now cleaning those 3 times a day for that vulnerable population that has no other place to go to clean up. You can see the picture on the right is an example of one of our hand washing stations that we have put throughout the city so that people can wash their hands, which is one of the #1 recommendations put out by the CDC. We've had to cancel 41 city-sponsored events and try to reschedule as many of those as we can into the fall. As you know, Artisphere was due to come up here, and it's been rescheduled to August. And we also, this week, will be beginning live streaming on our Facebook page for sound check. So where we used to have downtown Thursday and Friday night entertainment, we're going to begin to do that through our sound check and feature those local artists. And you can see that on the link here below. More to come on that, but there's the logo on the left-hand side. Next slide, please. So finish with communications. Obviously, very, very important during these times is to get the word out, to cooperate with our partners. I want to thank the chairman, county manager for working with the city of Greenville to establish the weekly joint media briefing. We had our second one this past week. We've had our mayor, our county council chairman, Carlos. We appreciate you did a great job last week addressing the needs of the business community, as well as Megan Bark from the United Way. We've had Prisma, Bon Secours, DHEC, and Jay Merritt from County Emergency Management. And we were very pleased to have a representative last week, Rebecca Leach from the South Carolina Retailers Association, who I've had an opportunity to speak with several times before we implemented the social distancing ordinance this past Friday. We've moved to hosting our city meetings on live WebEx and city Facebook, and we're working on stay-at-home public service announcements, particularly around our first responders. Since they can't stay home, we need to do our part so they can continue to serve and protect our community. And I think let's go to the last slide here. So another thing we're doing is a daily live look at places around Greenville. We have a lot of people that are tuning into that on our Facebook page. I want to say we had something like 16,000 parents and children on the virtual Touch It Truck series that we started last week. So people are looking for things to do, and we're trying to get their minds off this pandemic and on positive things that they can look to. And we started on the far right. You can see this is on one of our rollout recycling containers. This is a young child that posted, "Stay healthy, please." And they put some hand sanitizers on there. So we're trying to keep a positive beat here with uplifting photos, and we'll be doing that on a daily basis. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll kick it over to you for a county update. Thank you very much.
Okay, John, and I appreciate that very thorough briefing. I'm sure everybody got a lot of good information out of that. And I want to emphasize, as you said, that the county and the city have been working together for years, and that continues on to this day. And our strength is in our unity, and we're pulling together, and it's making a difference in this situation. Now, big picture wise, you know, we're looking at two things: the health of our community and the quality of life of our community. A president many years ago said, "The business of America is business. The business of Greenville County is business." After you take care of everybody's health care. So from all of the indications from our healthcare professionals, and by the way, our communications with Prisma, Bon Secours, and others in that field have been excellent. We got good information, the latest information, and the best information we have is that the next 2 weeks is going to be very critical in Greenville County to overcome this virus situation and start down the other side. And so it's time now to start looking at that quality of life, look at the recovery plan that you mentioned in that. We have such a great family of businesses in Greenville County, large, small, sole proprietorships, large businesses, employers of all sizes, entrepreneurs, startups, and they have made Greenville what it is. And those businesses are in a little stress right now. It is a lot of, these are uncertain times. So we need to start thinking right now about how we can all be a part of the recovery and the solution. And we're looking at things that are going on at the federal level, state level, and here at the local level. But Greenville County has always been a can-do county, an innovative county. Folks here find a way to solve problems and get things done. And I'm sure that's the case here. I want to emphasize that the next 2 weeks is critical. We have to have the discipline in our community to do everything that's been recommended by the healthcare professionals and put into place by the government about social distancing, density of places you go. Just stay away from people as much as you can over the next 2 weeks. At the same time, we have to realize that a lot of people have to go to work because lives depend on the jobs that they do. We're grateful for all of our healthcare workers, all of our food service preparation people that give us the ability to sustain our lives and keep things going and start this recovery phase. So we're looking forward to that. So I want to give you a little bit of a rundown on Greenville County activities because the role and mission of the county varies a little bit from the role and mission of the city. Of course, early on, the county has the Emergency Operations Center. It was activated early on, and it's coordinating with all the entities in the state, federal level, state, and local level as far as support, healthcare, public safety, first responders, and so on. And that includes our Greenville County EMS, Emergency Management System, the ambulances that pick people up and transport them. The volume has actually decreased in our EMS system now. Of course, people aren't doing those routine things or primary care services that they did. So that's enabled EMS to prepare and be ready for any kind of a surge that might occur in the next couple of weeks. The county's kept its landfills and convenience centers open. People have to take their home garbage, their trash, have to go somewhere, whether they have a private hauler or whether a lot of people in the county do it themselves. Those have to be open. And we've had to staff and maintain those facilities, observing social distancing and the practices to keep people from congregating in large numbers. And people have been good about that. Our county jail population has gone down. We did have about 1,350 there. Working with our solicitor and the public defender's office, we've got that down to about 900 now, which is we can spread them out more. It's more manageable population and monitoring those on a continual basis. Parks and recreation, some parks have been closed. I know the city has a lot higher density population than the county. We have some large parks out in the county. We've closed all the playgrounds. We've suspended all the sports activities, but people still need a place to go where they can spread out in small numbers and get some fresh air and take a walk and take a look at nature. A lot of people in our communities live in apartments, townhouses. They don't have very many opportunities for that. So we are leaving our county parks open and we're monitoring those. Anytime we have reports of people congregating, we check those out and make sure that people aren't doing those kinds of practices. Tax collections down at County Square are ongoing, but people aren't coming down there like they used to. They're doing that by mail and other means. We've waived the fees on credit card payment of taxes right now. So that's being done remotely. County Square is open. County employees are working remotely. There are very few people that go to County Square. All those same protective measures are in place that we talked about, social distancing. County council members are getting out in the communities and they're following up on reports of people gathering and checking those reports out. In many cases, you find out that they're not true. Yesterday, I went to a local Lowe's store in Simpsonville, and I was amazed at the measures and precautions that were in place there and that people were actually observing them. I went through the store and didn't get closer than 6 feet to anyone there. And what amazed me is the spirit of the people I encountered there and in the post office. People are very mindful of the situation. They're very respectful. They're helping one another. They're reminding people to do this with a smile on their face. And that's great to see. It renewed my enthusiasm for the quality of our personnel, our people here in Greenville County to come through this. And I want to say too, one of the things that our emergency management people did is help set up this drive-through testing facility out at the Greenville Convention Center for our first responders, our medical personnel. I've heard reports from, I listened to one this morning from Bon Secures. It's been very helpful and very informative and gotten these tests done and results are coming back faster. And so it's reassuring people that are going through there. It's a very small percentage of positive results coming through that type of facility. And so we're tracking those results now at this time as well. So things are ongoing. People are taking care of each other. If I could say anything today, I want to emphasize what the governor has said on down, that just stay home. Don't come in contact with anybody else unless you absolutely have to. If you have to go to work, Those employers are taking steps to protect people as well. There are essential services that we all have to have, so you will see people out and around. But if we have the discipline to follow the protocols, we'll be fine, and this thing will be on the downslide in the next 2 weeks. But everybody needs to buckle down, tighten up, and have the discipline to observe those protocols to the maximum extent within the next 2 weeks. And now we can start thinking about bringing our small businesses back. And I want everybody to be supportive of all of our small businesses. As John DeWorkin said yesterday in a meeting I was in, they were here for us. They made Greenville County what it is today. We need to be there for them when this thing can start coming back. And even now, if you can support them to any extent you can. And I want to follow up one last thing on what John said about our disadvantaged citizens and our homeless citizens. There are ways to support the efforts to support those folks. If you can make a contribution, a lot of our nonprofits are engaged in that. Make a contribution, do what you can, contact them, see what kind of help they need. And let's take care of all of our citizens as we go through this healthcare crisis, and we come out stronger and better for it on the other side. Thank you.
Thank you, Butch, and John, thank you. Those were very comprehensive updates. A lot going on in the city and the county. We certainly appreciate your leadership in those activities. Spend a moment, if we could, briefly talking about the home or work ordinance or order that the governor issued yesterday. Can you spend a little time unpacking that, some of the details of that, and why is it so important that we follow that order from the governor?
Well, as I just said, now is the time to have the discipline to follow the orders. You know, we got several types of orders. We got the laws that are in place, and the governor put some penalties on non-compliance yesterday on some of those activities, but it's largely depends on people voluntarily abiding by the laws or the protocols that are put in place. This is a chance for individuals to determine the fate of themselves, their families, and their fellow citizens. And they need to be responsible and follow those protocols, and we can get through this. So support what the governor said. I think he said it right. Everybody's involved in this. No one's exempt from this, and let's get it done.
John?
You know, I mean, I concur with what the chairman said. That's been the focus. You know, not Mayor White has been leading on this for weeks and weeks now, and with the support of our city council, they've been forward thinking on this issue for quite some time. So we're very pleased to see a statewide effort now come out yesterday from the governor. I believe it goes into effect tomorrow. And you know, the big focus there is that essential services is quite well defined in the governor's executive order, will continue to function. So if you provide an essential service, or if you're traveling to an essential service, you still have the ability to do that. He's encouraged people to keep their health up. So, you know, to the extent that they can, to exercise, to get out. But the big message in there is the social distancing. There was a particular element in there that said that the retailers cannot have any more than 20% of their total gross square footage utilized for customers. I think a lot of them have been very responsible from the ones that we've seen around the city of Greenville. Every day we're hearing reports of our retailers stepping up their protective measures for the community. Now, that doesn't mean everybody needs to rush out and go to the local grocery store. The contrary, based on the reports that we had this past Friday from the medical experts, they're saying to the, you know, if you can, you know, stay away from the store, stay home for the next week or two. If you have enough supplies, then, you know, don't venture out. Protect yourself, protect your families, protect your employees if you're a business owner. And again, to what the chairman said, it's all up to us as individuals and personal responsibility to respect these rules for our own safety and for that of others.
So true, so true. Thank you, John and Butch, for your comments there. We have about 5 minutes remaining in the webcast, and need to take an opportunity to let attendees ask questions. So if you have questions, please feel free to submit those via the chat. I can't tell if we have any in the chat room or not. So I'm going to ask a question, and we'll see where we go from there. Has there been any changes to the schedule for the University Ridge development? We know that it's a significant project, and many things have been delayed because of the pandemic. What about the University Ridge development?
No, thank you for that question, Carlos. Everything is in place to proceed with the University Ridge development. The architectural and engineering plans for the county's office building are nearing completion. Before this pandemic hit, we were looking forward to scheduling a groundbreaking for that building in the near future. Of course, that's been postponed for now, but work continues on finalizing those plans. All of the financial plans are in place to execute that plan, and we're moving forward with the plans to relocate the state offices and the family court to the facility over on Halton Road, which has now been purchased and closed and owned by the county. We also have architectural and engineering work going on there as far as finishing up the interior to accommodate those offices and activities over there, and the financing is in place to execute that as soon as practicable.
All right, thank you, Chairman. I appreciate that update. We are near the close of today's webcast. Do either of you have any closing thoughts, parting thoughts for our attendees?
Sure. Well, a lot of people, Carlos, have asked, what do we do now? Well, we do what we've always done. We're a resilient nation. We're a community that takes care of each other, and we need to be alert to the needs of one another and be willing to share our resources. And I think that's evident across this county in so many ways. We need to be unselfish and distance ourselves from others that we've talked about for our own protection and for theirs. And for some good news, really good news, the United Way over the past several weeks has raised over $600,000 in a 2-week period for a relief fund to ensure our most vulnerable neighbors have access to food, shelter, and access to healthcare and transportation. Really well done there. So as the chairman said earlier, if you can, donate to the United Way. That's only going to help our community, and that's something that you can do. A big kudos to the Greenville County school system and Burke Royster and his leadership and the school board. They've served over 113,000 meals to children just last week, from various feeding locations around the county. Another great example of pitching in to take care of our community. New nonprofits are rising up, such as We Will Not Grow Weary. It's coordinating with restaurants daily to pick up and deliver food to healthcare workers that are on the front lines. Great initiative. And here at the city, we're still offering services to make our community a safe place. Police and firefighters are responding to call for help, and Public Works continues to pick up trash and yard waste so we can all be healthy at home. So we don't know how long this thing will last, but what we do know is that this crisis will pass and we'll slowly get back to things being normal. So stay the course and everybody do your part. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Over to county, one of our department heads asked the employees that under her direction to send her an email listing the 5 things they were the most thankful for. And she shared it with me, and I'd like to share it with y'all. There's one of them here today. One of them said, "Glad I have a dog, glad the dog runs with me, glad I can still buy food to feed the dog, glad the dog can't talk, glad the dog knows when to leave me alone." The social isolation there, but companionship as well. Thank you very much.
Well, good. Well, hopefully we each have a dog or a pet that we share similar sentiments for. I want to thank you, John, for your leadership with the city, and Butch for your leadership with the county. It's times like this where leadership is so important, and you're delivering it in spades right now. So thank you so much. One of the things that I'm thankful for is the fact that when I moved here 4 years ago, I quickly noticed how connected the community is and how effectively we do things and how successful we are when we do things together. Now more than ever, it's important that we follow the rules, the protocols, the orders, and what have you, so that we can recover more quickly, so that we can thrive again. But it will take us doing those things together. And I'm confident that as a community, Greenville and Greenville County, we will succeed, we will thrive again together. Thank you all for being on the webcast today. Thank you to the attendees who joined us. I hope you got a lot of good information. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday for our next issue. I'm sorry, we look forward to seeing you Thursday for our next issue of Community Matters. Thank you.